Hello. As part of my review of the new FlySky FSI6 transmitter and the x6b receiver, I said I was going to do a little range test and compare the ia6b, that's this one here that's been around for quite a while, with the x6b and see if either one of them had better range than the other. So that's what's on here. That's the receiver stuck on there at the moment. That's x6b, and the other test that I did was to compare the antennas that came with the x6b, which are these ones here. They have 23 millimeters of wire exposed on the active part of the antenna, and I compared those with these ones, which are sold separately on Banggood and other places, I suppose, and they have 33 millimeters of wire. And somebody asked me which one was better, so I tried that as well. And to make a long story short, I could not tell any difference between the ia6b and the x6b. I flew them both out to 2.3 kilometers, which is about as far as I feel comfortable going. That's all that I can do over the ground that I have permission to fly on. And for me, that's more than enough, really. So if anybody wants to know how it goes after 2.3 kilometers, I'm sorry, I don't really know, and I'm probably not going to be able to find out very easily. But suffice to say that up to about 2.3 kilometers, these two seem to be both the same. Oh, hold on, just a second. I mean, with the antennas that the x6b came with, that's what I should be talking about here. So these 23 millimeter section antennas, the ones that the x6b came with versus the ia6b was the same. And these slightly longer 33 millimeter antennas here, they were not as good. For some reason I managed to fly out to the 2.3k mark without any trouble, but as soon as I turned around and came back, I started to get a little bit of fail-safes here and there. So it could just be slightly more stuff in front of the antennas maybe was causing that. So this is the front of the quad, that's the camera on the front there. And I've got the antennas stuck on one of these little plastic mounting things, and one of the antennas is facing forwards, so you can see the silvery part is towards the front, that being the front in that direction on this one, and on the other one it's at the back. So this is just to of course it's not going to focus, but that was the idea, was that so that this little plastic piece wouldn't be getting in the way on both sides. So here you can see that right about from here to where the home position would be, this is getting in the way. So perhaps it was just this sort of bit of wire and GPS puck thing on top that was getting in front of the signal there. So that's about all I have to tell you in the way of information for this video, but since I recorded the flights as I was doing it, I think if you're still interested in seeing how this looks, we can have a look at that. And I think people, I'm guessing somebody may have some questions about what this is here. This is something that I built specifically for this test. I do have a large quadcopter, of course, the 450 size one that I could, 500 size quadcopter that I could have used to do this, but since I was going to be doing quite a few flights back and forwards, I wanted it to be something that would be faster and something that could use batteries that I had more of. So I have a few of these batteries. I wanted to use these ones. This is a 3S 2800 LiPo. So I wanted to use those instead of the larger batteries that I have for my 500 size quad, which I'd have to wait for them to charge up each time to use them. And the weather has been very, very, very windy here lately, so I wanted to get it all done in the morning as quick as I could. Anyway, so that's why I built this, and it is a roughly 330 size diagonal distance, and no, it is not the YouTube sensation known as the cheap-ass quadcopter, which is now sadly resting in pieces. It may look a bit like it. It's exactly the same sort of design, but just a bit more hurriedly thrown together, so it doesn't have any of this fancy diagonal pieces here. It's just all rectangles. But it worked really well and very stable. Didn't have any trouble with it actually. It flew nicely. And the motors are the Racer Star 2205S, so that's the newer version, which have the hollow shafts in the middle, the new shaft version. The ESCs are Hobbywing X rotor 20 amp. Flight controller is a Flip 32, of course. This is a Neo 7M U-Blocks module. Compass is up in here, and I had to cut the trace on the Flip 32 to disable this compass, of course. I have a Bluetooth module in there just for doing some PID tuning and uploading the waypoints mission onto the flight controller from EasyGUI Android app. Then over here I have an OSD so I can see the voltage as I'm flying, and also it flashes up on the screen RTH mode. When the failsafe triggers, I can see quickly on the OSD that it triggered, so I can get an idea of how good or bad my reception is. And then over here we have just one of these little rabbit ear, I'm calling these rabbit ears, I don't know what they're really called, but mount there. And then on the bottom we have the good old Boscam 8-channel video transmitter. I found these to be very reliable. It's a pity that they're so big and clunky, but I have a feeling that their big clunkiness and the big heatsink on there and everything may be playing a part in how reliable they are. And the antenna is one of those Almway cloverleafs, and it's just sort of sticking out to the side there. That was mainly because I wanted to be able to land on it, and when the battery's here, the battery is actually the lowest part of the quad, so it's not going to be bumped on the ground too much when you land. And also when you're flying forwards, the home, so I'm going to be here, and the signal gets, if there's enough tilt on the frame of the quad, the signal can go over the top of this motor. That's the idea. And of course from the back it's fine as well, although it's not really, the pedals are not really pointing in the right direction, but it turned out to be not too bad. I could get almost to the 2.3K mark without losing too much video. Right about the 2.3K mark I lost quite a bit of video, and I relied on the mission. I actually set it to do a full mission out there and back, so I didn't do any control of the quad at all while it was flying, and I just let it fly out and back all by itself, and it was able to just get back with one of these batteries. And as we'll see, I don't know how much of the video I'll edit in after this, but on my last flight I found the wind just got a bit too much for it, and I had to ditch it a few paddocks early and go for a walk and pick it up, just because it couldn't overcome the wind. I'd set it to do, in CleanFlight iNav settings you can set nav max speed, and I set it to 12 meters per second, which is about 43 kilometers per hour I think. And it was trying to go quite fast, and I think if there was no wind that would have worked out just fine, and I tested it on some calm occasions and it was okay. But on the day that I actually went all the way up to the hill, it was very windy. So you're supposed to probably allow it to tilt more. There's also a setting where you can say when you're flying you're only allowed to tilt maximum of 20 degrees off level. And I think that the maximum tilt setting that I'd allowed it wasn't enough to overcome the wind. Okay, so on the front we have Xiaomi Yi, and I'm using this to record HD video, and I'm also using that as the video out for my video transmitter. Okay, so I think that's all the explanation done. There's a PDB inside there where the ESCs are joining onto, and the XT60 joins on there as well. Anyway, that's probably enough of that. Let's have a look at some of the flying. Just do a little test of the failsafe here. Transmitter off. It's all off still. And I just turned it on then at the end to cut the throttle when it landed. Okay, that looks good. Well, that's about all I have to share on this for now. It does not give us a definitive answer as to which one of these receivers might be able to go further overall, but I think for 90% of users, the fact that we can get to 2 kilometers fairly easily with both of them is good enough, I would say. I mean, if you're going any further than that, you're probably not wanting to use one of these, or even maybe not even 2.4 gig. You might be wanting to use a different frequency altogether. I have a feeling that this one would be able to go a little bit further than the i6b, simply because it has these bulby bits on the antennas here, and I meant to look up what these are supposed to be called, the proper name of them, but I forgot to do that. But I would imagine that they are not there just for fun. They must have some sort of a purpose. I forgot what they're supposed to do, but somehow they improve reception, I would suppose. So yeah, that's about all I'm going to do on this. I suppose somebody's going to ask me, like, well, what happens if you take this 33mm one and cut it down to 23mm? Well, I suppose it would work the same as a 23mm one, wouldn't it? I don't know. If I'm bored, maybe I'll try that. But anyway, that's the end of this video. Thanks for watching.